It's quiet, it's safe. It's the kind of place where any child could feel protected and secure. But in homes across Australia, children are at risk from a technology that delivers material like this with just the click of a mouse.
I think that internet pornography has become one of the main influences on children's and young people's attitudes towards sex and relationships.
How do you describe the dangers for our kids as a result of the internet in this area?
Oh, look, they're really severe, really. They're quite... it's really easily accessed over the internet, which is really horrible for the kids. It just shouldn't be that way.
Michelle Fitzgerald is the mother of 3. She would never dream of letting her children play on the road, but until recently, she didn't know about the dangers of the digital highway. Her awakening came easily enough when she looked at the computer log of search words used by her 11-year-old. But the word that was first put in by your son, and I'll say it, it was futching, which wasn't exactly
no, it wasn't even
the word that perhaps
right.
he was looking for.
Yeah, I don't know if he's a very good typist.
What did the internet service provider, what happened when he wrote that in?
Well, then they gave him the option to correct the spelling and said, "Did you mean fucking?"
And what a list it was. Hardly the type of material a child in primary school needs to see.
It makes them face some issues much earlier than they probably would have normally. You know, the sorts of things that they're looking at and we're discussing with them as a result of what they've seen. They really shouldn't be discussing, you know, we really shouldn't be having conversations with them on those topics at such a young age.
This isn't an isolated case. Research shows that by the age of 16 or 17, 84% of boys and 60% of girls have viewed porn on the net. But the most concerning statistic may be that more than 1 in 5 teenage boys views porn sites on a regular basis. What these children are watching is hard to know, but as sociologist Michael Flood discovered when he researched the issue, anything you can imagine is there on the net, and most of it free.
Images of rape, images of sex with animals, images taken illicitly of women's bodies or of women going to the toilet or undressing or people having sex, and images and video of every sexual act and every combination of sexual acts and sexual agents imaginable, including those that are criminal, that are violent and so on.
I don't think we should be letting people under the age of 18 view sexually explicit material. I mean, I agree with the existing classification systems. The big problem is it's very difficult to apply that classificatory approach to the net. Hi guys, what you watching?
Catharine Lumby is a social researcher, a mother of 2 and the co-author of a new book, The Porn Report. Like most parents, she's deeply concerned about the possible impact of porn on children.
It's never ideal for a young person to be accessing pornography, but in a family where they feel comfortable talking to their parents, where they're supported, where there are good values about women being modelled, then it's probably less likely to have a bad impact than for someone living in a situation where there might be a dysfunctional family and a whole lot of other issues in their lives.
There's a very well documented, consistent link in the research between exposure, particularly to violent pornography, and sexual aggression, both sexually aggressive attitudes and sexually aggressive behaviour. You can see that from laboratory and experimental studies, and also from correlational studies out in the community where you compare, say, men's attitudes and behaviours and their use of porn.
Of course, all this leaves one very simple question. How do we protect children from nasties on the net? Well, right now, the federal government and the internet industry are locked in a major battle about this very issue. 2 weeks ago, when the Internet Industry Association invited Communications Minister Stephen Conroy to its annual dinner, there were smiles all round, but there was more than a bit of tension in the air too. The reason is simple. In opposition, Labor made it clear they want internet companies to filter porn from the net, and they aren't backing down on the demand.
Labor makes no apology whatsoever for introducing a mandatory ISP filtering scheme which will block these sites from families' lounge rooms and children's bedrooms.
The evidence is that the greater the range of content that you're trying to block on the internet, the greater the negative effect you have on the performance of the internet.
If the internet industry has its way, porn filtering would be done in the home. They point out that right now it's possible to install your own safety filter from the net, all for free. The problem is the software is easily circumvented, and in some cases it renders the computer almost unusable, as Michelle Fitzgerald found out.
We downloaded the file off the government site, relatively easily to download. We found that it was very cumbersome and clunky. It was really restricted access to sites, for example, on whether it was boats or art or things that the kids were researching for school. So it would just block you constantly, and it became very frustrating.
When it comes to broadband...
Aware of these problems, the new Labor government has proposed a very different, some would say a radical solution. It's called a clean feed. That means under law, your internet service provider, or ISP as they are sometimes called, must, if requested, provide a family-friendly service that filters out X-rated pornography.
A number of telcos around the world currently have an ISP-based filtering. UK, France, Sweden, Norway. They actually make it work today.
It is a direct relationship between volume and speed. The greater the volume you are attempting to filter against, the greater the effect. It's like putting a filter on your home plumbing system. The more that the smaller the granularity of the filter, the smaller the particles that it's trapping, the slower the volume of water that will flow through it.
So who's right and who is wrong? Anthony Pillion runs the company WebShield. It's an internet service provider that specialises in filtering unwanted material like porn for its clients. Does he believe ISP filtering could kill the internet?
It comes down to a question of engineering. Yes, you can engineer things in a way that it will dramatically slow down the internet, but equally it can be engineered in such a way that it doesn't slow down the internet, and that's the way we've got our network engineered at this point in time.
To resolve this apparent impasse, the federal government is currently testing clean feed filtering systems, both in the laboratory and in real-life situations. For all that, though, authorities have to confront the real possibility that short of neutering the internet, there may be no foolproof solution.
Well, my reaction is the wake-up call for parents and educators and anyone who's concerned about young people is that there is no foolproof method at the moment. Because even if you've got the best filtering system in the world at home and the best vigilance at home, your kid could be looking at something at someone else's house.
If that is the case, Michael Flood has some bad news. There is effectively a monster loose in suburbia.
It's damaging our culture and damaging our sexual relations. It's not breeding, it's not helping to foster a sexual culture in Australia based on consent, based on respect, based on mutual pleasure. And it seems to me, that's a potential tragedy.